Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to England once again. We're going to stick to the London area for this one as we did with Weird Beard a couple of videos back, and we're going to revisit another brewery who I haven't had anything from in a very long time. I think it's about 2 years or so since I last reviewed a beer from these guys, but I have had very good experiences from them. It's just another case of me not really being able to find these beers very easily. Even when I'm over in Copenhagen, you don't see too many beers from these guys available. So yeah, hopefully that changes over the next little while. We don't really get beers from these guys in Sweden, of course, either. So for this review then, we are going to go out to the west of London, to Berkshire, a little town called Finchampstead, which is of course home to Siren craft brewery. So the beer we're having a look at today is actually one of their older ones. This is the Shattered Dream, and it's an Imperial breakfast stout coming in at 9.6% ABV. So this is a beer that I know is very good. Rob Hopsey was telling me that this is a very nice one, because I think when I ordered from Glassbanken.se I had the choice of about 2 or 3 beers from Siren. He told me, I said, which one of these should I get? And he told me that this is the one I wanted to try. And I've only had a porter, an Imperial porter I think from Siren before, so this will be my first Siren Imperial Stout. One of my favourite beers that I had from these guys actually was the $10 Shake. That was a beautiful New England IPA back in the day. It stood up, you know, very well. It was maybe even better than some of the Cloudwaters and things at the time that were getting all of the hype actually. That's a beautiful beer, that. So $10 Shake from Siren is one that you definitely want to try actually. But yeah, definitely cool to return to these guys. This is going to be review number 5 or so involving this brewery here on the channel, and hopefully I can review these a little bit more regularly for you over the next while. This is a brewery that I would love to review more beers from, but as I say, I just don't see them very often. So yeah, hopefully this turns out to be a good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. Since this is an English beer, a big shout out to my friends over in the English beer tubing scene. We've got Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, Peter the Clueless Drinker, Rob Hopsey, and Jaco at Jaco Beer, and we've also got Craig at Kent Beer Reviews. There's other guys popping up as well. We've got Beardy Brett, and there's various other newer guys kind of popping up and joining the thing as well, which is great. I think lockdown is actually inspiring a lot of people to go and make their own YouTube videos about beer, which is very interesting. There's Beer Dad and things like that as well, who are popping up, who've got some very nice videos. We've got Dean at Dean's Beer Reviews as well, who's got some great stuff. So, you know, keep an eye on these guys. If you want to see the English beers reviewed a bit more regularly, that's where I would recommend that you go. All very nice guys. So yeah, do go and give them your support if you're watching my channel. But yeah, curious to see how this one turns out, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Siren Craft Brewery before. No doubt I will add some more at some point in the near future. I've got no intention of leaving it another 2 years. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beers on the basis of country, city, state, county, prefecture, province, whatever it is that happens to take your fancy. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Siren Craft Brewery then, on to my brewery notes. So Siren Craft Brewery was founded back in 2012 by Darren Anley in Finchampstead in Berkshire in England, just out to the west of London, somewhere that I think I will need to visit on my trip to England that I'm planning for either late this year or early next year. But he'd previously been in the tech industry, but he was also an avid home brewer on the side, and you know, he actually worked on most of his initial recipes prior to establishing the brewery. So apparently these recipes were ready in around 2010, but they were only bottled in 2013 for release. And the first beer that was released by Siren was actually the Maiden Barley Wine, which is one that I really want to try. I think I've seen it in Valhalla's Goat in Glasgow, but I've just never, you know, got round to actually buying it. So if I see it the next time I'm there, I will definitely get one. But the brewery is named after the Sirens in Greek mythology, who were women or winged creatures, and their singing apparently used to lure the sailors to crash their boats onto the rocks, and the beers that they have in their core range are all named after the different sirens actually. But since foundation, these guys have been growing steadily and increasing the range of beers that they do, and also the brewing capacity. In 2014 they had to add a new bottling line because they outgrew their capacity very quickly, and more recently, I think maybe 2018 or so, they converted to putting their beers into cans, which is obviously great and better for the environment. But in the early days, Darren hired American brewer Ryan Whitaker Merrithew, but he's now back in America, and I think he stayed with them until 2016, and following this they hired another American, Kyle Larson, who's from Oregon, and he was brewing with them until 2019. I'm not sure exactly who the head brewer is now, so I couldn't find out that information, but as of May 2020, when I'm producing this beer review for you, apparently they're producing around 20,000 hectolitres of beer per year, and they've produced well over 300 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, but I would suspect that that figure might not be inaccurate. I think Untappd has only been around since maybe about 2014 or so. I can't remember. Do tell me about that in the comment section below, but I think they've probably produced maybe nearer maybe 400 different kinds of beer. I would think that's a more likely figure for Siren Craft Brewery. But they've also got their tap yard bar, which is right next to the brewery, and it's been open since December 2017. It seems to open from lunchtime most days until about 8 PM, so that's somewhere that I would like to go and visit. So maybe when I make it to London or to visit Harry or whatever, I can go and have a little look at that. It would definitely be cool to go and get some beers and things from Siren's own brewery. Like I say, I wish I could review this brewery a little bit more often actually, because they do some very good beers in my experience. But yeah, that's all I'm really able to tell you about Siren Craft Brewery for the moment. As I say, a very highly rated English brewery, and one that I definitely recommend that you check out if you get the chance. I mean, the breweries that are doing some really good stuff, there's lots of good little breweries in England these days, but I mean everyone's raving about like Dea, you know, you've got Moor Beer are well known as well, Siren, Buxton, Kernel, you know, Beavertown were always big back in the day, but not so much now. You've got the Cloudwaters, you've got the Wylam's, you know, there's so many good breweries in England these days. The scene really has exploded over the last couple of years. Neon Raptor is another very good brewery. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say about Siren Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, as I say, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about the different beers that these guys have done. And of course, if you want to see these reviewed more regularly, go and check out the English guys that I mentioned to you earlier. Blue Nose Beer Reviews, Kent Beer Reviews, Jayco Beer, Clue the Strinker, Hop Scene. You know, these guys really know what they're doing when it comes to the reviews. Dean's Beer Reviews as well is another one. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So this one is actually one of the older beers that they've done, and they've re-released it. So yeah, this one was originally brewed as their 100th batch, so I guess it's maybe been brewed in like 2015 or so originally. But it says on the back here, Shattered Dream Imperial Breakfast Stout. Shattered Dream is the scaled up version of our award-winning flagship stout, Broken Dream. In addition to its imperial strength and generous espresso hit, we've also added cacao nibs and vanilla to make this beer even more luxurious than the much loved original. An intensely indulgent and unctuous treat. So yeah, this one contains lactose, vanilla, coffee and cocoa nibs. So yeah, I think this one will be pretty damn good. I have to compliment them on the artwork of this. I like the kind of broken mirror thing there. That is very cool. That must have taken them ages to design that actually, unless it's one of these kind of software packages they've designed. The artist maybe designed it and then put a shatter effect or something, I don't know, but I have to say the artwork I really think is very cool. I think I'll probably need to keep the label off this can actually. I think this one is pretty damn impressive. But yeah, like I said, a 9.6% Imperial Stout, this one, and hopefully it turns out to be very nice. But knowing Siren, it probably will be. As I say, I've never had a bad beer from these guys yet. Ooh, this looks good. But yeah, as I say, it's just a bit of a shame that, you know, I always liked, you know, Weird Beard were a brewery that I always really liked, but I just found it very difficult to get a hold of their beers. And Siren are another one, you just don't see their beers out here in Scandinavia very often at all. But I'll tell you something, as soon as you open this beer up, the aroma of this is very nice. So yeah, as you can see with this one, this is poured a lovely dark sort of ebony colour. It's pretty much black as night, to be honest with you. If I shine the light through it, there's very, very little, there's virtually nothing coming through. It doesn't even have like a kind of mahogany edge or anything to it. So this beer is black as night. There's a solid 1/3 finger of a frothy, I would say quite dark tan head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but you know, overall it does look very, very nice, and you can just see a steady stream of very, very small bubbles going up to towards the bottom of that head there. So it looks great, and I think this one is going to be a very, very nice beer actually. Just from the look of it and the smell that it's given me, I think it's going to be pretty damn good. But you know, nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style and things it is. So let's have a closer look at that aroma then, and just see how we get on. I have to say, that's really nice. Now, as you'll know, if you've been watching the channel over the last while, I'm a huge fan of coffee stouts these days, and a lot of that is thanks to Dougas Brewery, who I think they really need to do a dedicated series to these coffee stouts, because they're the most capable brewery that I've come across yet when it comes to the coffee stouts actually. So if you like this kind of beer, definitely check out the likes of the Key or the Sidamo Dimtu and things from Dougas Brewery. They're very good at these beers. So this is one I think that is going to be right up my street actually. But yeah, straight away with this one, you know, you can smell that lovely kind of coffee bean smoothness out of it. As I've told you in other videos, the thing with coffee beans, and this is from somebody who doesn't even drink coffee, but I really appreciate the flavours that these beans can actually put into beer. They're really one of the most interesting adjuncts I think that you can use. So for coffee beans, it's all about the maso, the metres above sea level at which the bean is grown, because the higher you grow it basically, the more interesting fruity and aromatic kind of qualities you can get out of them. And I think the roasting process obviously is quite important as well, like slow roast and all of these kind of things. So yeah, the coffee beans play a huge role in this. But the coffee that comes out of this one for me, it actually does have a good little bit of kind of aromaticity to it, but at the same time, it's the roast comes across as being very, very smooth actually. Is it fruity? I don't know, I don't find the coffee in this one overly fruity. There's a wee teeny hint of like a citrus to it, but mainly it's quite a smooth. I find the coffee in this one quite smooth. It's got a little touch of earthiness to it. Yeah, and I think the coffee beans that they've used in this, I think have a little bit of they've got a little bit of an earthiness to them, they've got a little bit of a kind of florally aromaticity kind of thing, and there's a wee tiny touch of citrus, but all three of these, none of them try to dominate the aroma in that sense. It might change, it might come out a little bit differently in the flavour I think, so we'll comment on it again in the flavour, but I think the coffee bean that they've used in here seems to be very well balanced between these different elements. Some of them can have like, you know, red fruity notes and be very strong in their citrusy or their aromatic kind of qualities, so it's a really, really interesting point to make about the coffee beans that are in this one. It's really, really, it's really interesting actually. So yeah, one of my favourite adjuncts to put in Imperial Stouts is most definitely coffee beans. But other than that, in this beer, there's definitely a few woody undertones. I do think the coffee kind of dominates this one. When it's a breakfast stout, that's what you would expect, to be honest with you. So yeah, you can definitely smell some of the nice kind of chocolate out of this as well. The cocoa nibs, I think, give the beer it's almost like a kind of powdery, dusty kind of chocolate that you get out of this one. I really like how that comes together. You can definitely pick out some of the vanilla as well. The vanilla gives you the impression of a kind of more milky chocolate, you know, a 30% cocoa type chocolate, but at the same time, you also get some of the, you also get a little bit more of a kind of woody aroma out of this one. You get some of the darker chocolate as well, I think, which is really nice, a sort of 70-80% cocoa bean. You can smell that really dark, slightly harsher chocolate note out of this one. So I really like how that goes together. Yeah, the aroma of that is absolutely lovely. I mean, it comes across as a very, very kind of smooth beer in my mind. I really, really like that about it. It doesn't smell too lactosey. Like I said, it says it's got a little bit of lactose in it, but it doesn't smell too lactosey. You can pick up a little bit of it mixing in with the vanilla, but other than that, it really doesn't. But the lactose, in fairness, might be smoothing out some of the coffee bean aromas. Actually, it does have a tendency to do that. So maybe some of these things I was mentioning from the coffee beans in this would be a little bit more prominent if it wasn't for the use of the lactose in here. But to be honest with you, this beer, it smells very, very smooth. It's one of the smoother Imperial stouts that I've come across. I think what they tend to do with breakfast stouts is use oatmeal in the base, so it should, when we taste it, it should have quite a nice kind of smooth, almost brown, bready character coming out of it. I do love a good Imperial oatmeal stout actually, so as I say, got very high hopes for this one. On the, I don't find this the most roasty though. I think this one's one of the sweeter kind of breakfast stouts and smooth, well, more smooth breakfast stouts that I've come across in terms of aroma. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, I'd say you've definitely got a bit of earthiness to this one. You've got some nice kind of, you do have a nice little bit of floral aromaticity and also a bit of grassiness there. The green side of the hops I think leans, it's well balanced between the floral and the grassy side of things. The earthiness is nice too, but overall I think it's, again, it's another very, very kind of smooth thing. I'd be curious about what hops they've used in this. Maybe a bit of Summit as the bittering hop, or maybe you know, maybe they've used one of the English hops like Kent Goldings, or maybe even Brandling's Cross, because some of the fruity notes in here seem a little bit distinctive. Northern Brewer, of course, is another option. That's very popular hop to use in Doppelbock. Brandling's Cross, of course, is popular in the old school English barley wines. Well You Met is a good one to use in these kind of beers as well. But on the fruity side of things, there's definitely a bit of that kind of, you know, raisiny, plummy sort of thing coming out of the beer. You can smell some of the juicier figs, and there's a few kind of blackcurranty, blackberry sort of things coming out this as well. So it's got your typical kind of berry-ish notes coming out. Actually, I really like how everything goes together in this beer. I think this one is really very nicely done. I think this is going to be one that I really enjoy, as I say, but we'll just need to see. So take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. I think it's very interesting, but we're going to have a taste of this one now and see how we get on. So this is the Shattered Dream, an Imperial Breakfast Stout at 9.6%. Basically an amped up version of their Broken Dream core range stout from Siren Craft Brewery in Finchampstead in Berkshire, out to the west of London. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's very, very nice. Let's get the rest of this in here. I actually am drinking this one as a breakfast stout, because I've never done that. I've actually never done this before. I don't drink so many breakfast stouts. I need to, you know, review a few more of this style on the channel, because it's something that I would quite like. But I actually am drinking this beer. I took a little break from my work. I work from 8 until 10, so filming this review for you at 10 AM on a Tuesday morning, just, you know, because I can. But this is one, I think this whole idea of a breakfast stout is actually quite nice. You know, if like in Scandinavia you are, you know, you take public transport to work and things, you can kind of afford to do this. You could have a liquid breakfast if you really wanted to. Not sure how many workplaces would approve of that, but yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. But yeah, this one is, it really is quite nice, this. I like how it goes together. This idea of a breakfast stout is quite interesting. I'm not sure if these are designed to be like, you know, hangover beers. You know, if you have like a really, really heavy night before, you drink an Imperial breakfast stout to kind of get yourself up and going again. I'm not sure if that's the idea behind this, but yeah, I do like the, you know, drinking this one as a kind of brunch. I guess I'm drinking this more as a kind of brunch kind of thing. I've not eaten right enough, but yeah, I do like this idea of having it as a breakfast stout. It's quite interesting. But I will say this is a lovely smooth beer actually. So straight away with this one, you can really feel straight across the middle of your palate, you can feel that lovely oatmeal-y quality that just blankets the middle of your palate there. You get the impression of a nice kind of brown bready character to it. You can feel the lactose really smoothing that out as well, which is very, very nice. So yeah, the whole tongue really just feels very, very oatmeal-y and very smooth. It's almost got the same, as I say, I don't really drink coffee, I can't even remember the last cup of coffee I had, but it really has that kind of smoothness that you'd expect of some kind of like coffee or hot chocolatey type thing actually. So yeah, this is a beautiful beer. This big thumbs up to Siren once again. I'm not surprised because, as I say, I've had very good experiences with this brewery before. So yeah, if you go towards the back of the palate then, you can feel that oatmeal-y smoothness there really does push towards the back of the tongue. But you can feel some of the more kind of roasty elements pushing their way out of this beer. The coffee beans, like I say, you've got a bit of a layer. This beer seems to have a bit of a layered approach, to be honest with you. You've got the oatmeal-y base. On top of that, you can feel the lactose kind of smoothing things out. When you go forward kind of into the middle part of your tongue, that's where you get the coffee beans. So the coffee beans for me have a very, very kind of smooth roast to them. I think the further that you go into the flavour, it really develops a bit more of a kind of aromatic quality, and it's almost a little bit kind of citrusy and very slightly floral. I think, pardon me, again, I'm not sure how much the lactosey side of the beer is kind of influencing that, but yeah, the coffee bean I think sits in the very kind of middle of the tongue, and it's almost a little bit sweet as well actually, which is quite interesting. I think the coffee bean and the cocoa nibs are really interacting quite a bit in this one, so I like that about this beer. Yeah, I do like how this one all kind of fits together. I mean, as I say, you get that nice kind of oatmeal. As I say, you get that nice kind of smooth oatmeal-y kind of thing. You've got the coffee bean just sitting in there as well. And it's almost like in the middle of the palate, as I say, you've got the oatmeal, then you've got the cocoa nibs. It's almost that kind of powdery, hot chocolatey type thing there, or a little bit of a kind of charred dark chocolate that you get out of this one. But on top of that, you get some nice kind of you do get the nice kind of coffee bean notes sitting there. They've got a very smooth roast, like I say, but the further you go into the aftertaste, that floral aromatic thing kind of develops out of it, and it's got an almost a little bit of a kind of citrusy thing. It's almost very slightly it's almost a little bit zesty actually in the middle of your palate, so pay attention to that. It's really interesting how it develops. It almost feels like the centre of your palate is like a pyramid and you're just going up through all these different layers actually, so it's really nice how that goes together. The peak of the flavour, if you like, is in the very kind of centre of your tongue, and you can just feel things building on these layers. So oatmeal, lactose, the cocoa nibs, and then all these different things from the coffee. So yeah, that's a really interesting point to make about this one. It feels like a very layered beer, this one. Everything mainly feels smooth, but it's almost like you've got a mountain in the middle of your tongue where everything sort of piles up actually. But yeah, I would say that as you move towards the front of that middle third of your tongue, that's where you get some of the the sort of vanilla type notes coming out of it. If you go to the front corners of your palate and move in a little bit, you really get some of the woodiness out of the beer. You've got some of the nice vanilla qualities mixing in with that as well. So I really like how that all goes together. Yeah, the whole flavour of this one I think is it just goes together really, really quite nicely. On the hoppy side of things, the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice bit of earthiness to it. As you come further forward along the side of the tongue, it really smoothens out a little bit. There's maybe almost a wee touch of a herbal quality there. I'm not sure, I can't really tell whether it's English hops or American hops in this one. I think it might be a blend of both, because the earthiness, it has got a little bit of the darkness you expect of some of the English hops in there. So there might be a bit of Kent Golding. I don't think there's Fugels. The sort of, you don't get that ashy character out of it like you might get with the Fugels. But yeah, you've got a nice little bit of a kind of herbally earthiness to it. So maybe Summit and maybe a bit of Brownlands Cross, as I say. But as you come further forward, you do get a little bit of a floral character as you reach the very front corners of the palate. But then around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind, so I really like how that goes together with this. And then behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get the nice oily bubble, where the juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer. Yeah, this is really, really nice. The fruity side of this beer is really interesting actually, because you can feel the fruits come out on that front third of the palate, but you can feel some of the roastiness actually. As you drink more and more of this beer, you can feel some of the coffee roastiness just pushing its way forward, which is really interesting. But yeah, on the fruity side of the beer, you really get a nice, there's a little bit of a kind of raisiny, plummy sort of thing to this as you go further into the aftertaste. Yeah, you've got a really nice kind of plummy quality to this one, but that it very quickly kind of smoothens out. I think this beer really starts to lean more towards a kind of figgy sort of thing. So at the back, when you first take it in, it's got a little bit of a plummy, raisiny sharpness. As you move further forward from that, you get the pardon me, you do get a nice how do you say, a nice little bit of an oily you will get a nice little bit of a kind of figgy, juicy note out of this one, but you can really feel, it almost feels as if it's a bit, the front part of your tongue, the more that I think about it, the more it starts to feel a little bit like a kind of toasty cake or something like that, but on the very tip of the tongue you get like a blackcurranty, blackberry-ish type quality that comes out of this beer. So I really like the kind of more juicy, berry, fruity type quality that comes out of this, the further that you go into the aftertaste as well. So I think this is a really, really solid beer in my mind. I like this one. I've not had too many of these breakfast stouts, as I say. I don't think this is the heaviest one that I've come across either. I think the meeker ones tend to be about 11ish, maybe 12%. But this one I think is very, very nicely balanced and very nicely done actually. It's just got the right amount of booze in it and the right amount of coffee and things to give you a little bit of that kind of wake up actually. So I thought this, you know, this was one I wanted to try without having eaten anything before that, but I think it's turned out pretty damn well. So big thumbs up to Siren for this one. I can see why Rob was recommending this beer to me. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this is a pretty, it's at the bottom end of full bodied I think. It's a very, very smooth beer this. Actually no, I need to revise that. I need to say it's pretty much bang in the middle of the full bodied thing. When you consider it's only 9.6%, it is pretty damn full. Lovely smoothness to the carbonation, very, very kind of thick, almost quite creamy to be honest in its mouthfeel rather than anything else. Good bit of bitterness to this one. I think we're looking about 70ish IBUs, both from the coffee and from the actual hoppy side of the beer and the other malts in there as well. So you know, I think we're talking about a 70ish, maybe even 80 IBU beer this one. But the bitterness is, at the same time, is very, very smooth. Nice little bit of sweetness out of it, as I say, from the you get a bit of sweetness from the vanilla, from the lactose and things like that. In between the kind of front third and middle third of your tongue, you've got the kind of vanilla notes sitting there. It almost gives you a type of cake, a kind of cakey type flavour actually. So you do have a little bit of sweetness to this beer as well, and then you've got some lovely juicy fruitiness also. But I think this is an awesome beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I really need to explore the breakfast stouts a little bit more, because it's something that is lacking a little bit from the channel, I have to say. But another awesome beer from Siren Craft Brew, and I'm glad that I was able to review this one for you here on the channel. So let's leave it at that. This one is the Shattered Dream, an Imperial Breakfast Stout at 9.6% ABV from Siren Craft Brew in Finchampstead in Berkshire, out to the west of London in England. I've really enjoyed this one. It's nice to return to Siren after such a long time, and hopefully it's not such a long time until I review my next beer from them. I need to see what else I can get a hold of from these guys. I really want to review the Maiden barley wine actually, so we'll need to see if I can get a hold of that. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Siren Craft Brew as well. If you enjoy a lovely big smooth kind of oatmeal and coffee stout, this is one that is definitely going to tick all of the boxes for you, and I'm glad that I ordered this one through Glassbanking. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. The Shattered Dream Imperial Breakfast Stout from Siren Craft Brew in Finchampstead, Berkshire, England. Slàinte, Scott, make sure you check out my English friends on the beer tubing scene as well. Cheers.